Hi, hello, and welcome. This is Bottom of the Barrel Morning Show here on Radio Free Brooklyn. This is your host, as always, Hamza Chaudhry, here with my one and only beautiful, wonderful, conniving co-host, Grant Moore.
Wow, it's a new adjective every week.
I have none.
Honestly, I'm just happy that it seems like you're reading or something.
Conniving, I'm pretty sure I've used it.
You use beautiful every single time, so I appreciate the consistency on that one.
And I appreciate you consistently showing up and being just that.
Yeah, well, I do my best.
And we are here with our guest today, a veteran of the Army, a community leader.
Wow.
For Veterans Who Code. Project Code.
Operation Code.
One
of those, yeah.
Former professor, former teacher, father of two.
That's right. Yep.
Can't
give that title up.
The one and only New York native Captain Evan Wang.
Oh,
Whoa.
Thank you. Wow.
Captain Wang.
When I heard his intro, I was like, oh, damn, that's good.
Yeah.
This one.
Yeah.
You have more credits than me.
Grant has zero accomplishments.
Yeah.
He hasn't. If I were doing Grants, it would be like, made it out of bed before 12 last week 3 times.
Okay, bitch, I was here before you.
I saw a news thing where, imagine you had no accomplishments and the person's title, they usually have a job or something, and it said former baby.
See, I made it out of that stage.
Nailed it.
Former baby. He successfully made it out of childhood into adulthood.
Yeah, still breastfeeding though.
Still breastfeeding. Evans Wang.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah.
Some people don't. Some people are adult children.
I feel that I'm taking that personally.
Have you ever worked with someone who's like an adult child?
I currently do not work with anyone that is an adult child.
Very good.
But yes. I forgot this recorded.
Right.
Yeah,
that's right.
They'll hear it for sure. Yeah.
Oh, I mean, this radio show is so popular.
The number 7 most popular radio interview show on Radio Free Brooklyn. 6 months ago.
Did we drop down to number 7? I thought we were 5.
I don't know. Last I checked, we were 7, but it's been months since I checked.
It doesn't matter. We do it for the love of the game.
We do it for the love of the game. We're here to meet interesting people in our community.
Nice.
Evans Wang cracking open a
crispy cold one with the boys.
How are you doing today?
Amazing. I've got my work beer with me.
Yeah, which is just a Monster Energy.
Yeah.
Just 300 surging milligrams of caffeine.
That's right.
Oh, yeah.
I've gotten to a habit where I do the thing that normal people do, and that is like, oh man, I'm really nervous. Let me calm down with a Monster Energy.
That's insane.
Yeah.
But it does kind of focus you a little bit, that level of caffeine. Did you ever do Rip Fuel? Were you in that part?
Rip Fuel? Dude, let me tell you about the energy drinks they gave you when you were deployed. They were called Rippets.
Yeah.
Dude, they're like half the size of this. And, I mean, there must have been like tiger's blood in there.
Oh, yeah. For sure, some type of illegal formula of shark fin and something that makes your dick hard and soft at the same time.
Let me tell you, it works. Yeah.
So it's like military grade energy drinks?
It was military sponsored for sure, because we got it overseas. But the secret sauce, dude, when I was deployed, so in Iraq, just when the good stuff just wasn't in stock, so you'd go to your local bodega in the Mahalas,
right?
And there was something called Tiger Boom Boom. Yeah. And I'm like, I swear swear there was crack in there. Yeah, it was next level energy.
Tiger Boom Boom does sound like a toxic liquid.
Yeah, it does.
What are the side effects of Tiger Boom Boom?
Calmness, stillness, focus, zen-like patience.
Yeah, loss of hair.
Oh, yeah.
Not for you, but that would destroy me intestinally.
In my head, I'm thinking what kind of energy do I want to give somebody with a gun? Tiger Boom Boom energy.
Tiger Boom Boom.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, that's what they called it whenever you went to war.
That's right.
Time for Tiger Boom Boom.
You win the hearts and minds.
It's like that's how you win the hearts and minds. 400 milligrams. What was Charlie Sheen he tried to do a Tiger Blood energy drink.
That was probably about the same time, no?
Yes.
When Charlie Sheen was on his tirade of
no way. Is that when that links up? When were you in Iraq?
2011.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Pretty close.
Okay.
Probably, yeah.
Pretty close. Two and a half men was bussing at the time.
Yeah, I didn't catch any of that. I had to basically watch like reruns or whatever because we're just completely out of the loop for all digital things.
So, okay, you went to the Army out of high school?
No. Those are the real warriors.
No.
I went to college.
Yeah, okay.
Like an idiot.
Pussy.
Yeah.
Stupid idiot. No, I did ROTC. I don't know if you're familiar with that program at all.
Yep.
Where
they toss guns around.
Yeah.
They used to come to our school and toss guns. It was cool.
Yeah, a bunch of college kids want to be warriors, and it was cool because in a full circle moment, I became an ROTC instructor.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, Hamza has seen me in uniform.
Yes.
I would just show up. Like, imagine like your teacher one day just came out in like full uniform and just like, hey guys, we're going to learn about code today.
Yeah. Oh, this is when you're also teaching for computer stuff.
Yeah. So we worked together at a coding boot camp.
Yeah.
This was after your deployment.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Like
several years after.
Yeah, back when I was just like a warrior in a garden instead of like a gardener at war.
Yeah. Okay. But okay, so you went to ROTC after you did ROTC in college.
Yes.
You went to did you do ROTC in high school?
No, that's JROTC. And funny enough, in JROTC, there was a guy, his name was Guy.
Yeah.
Like Gaetano, like real Italian.
Yeah.
And he was doing all like the JROTC stuff. And I was like, man, what a stud.
Yeah.
And then we actually wound up going to the same college. And then he did ROTC. He contracted. He got like the full ride 4-year scholarship.
Oh, nice.
And I was like, yeah, I want some of that Uncle Sam money. Except I was like late in the game. I did like junior year. So I just like threw away 2 years of just college money.
Yeah. Oh, so you didn't start ROTC until you were like in your sophomore year?
I was still like figuring out my life.
Of course. Yeah.
Then I committed.
Interesting.
And then I became broken.
Then from there, you graduated and they were like, come serve?
Yeah. So what happens is at junior year, you have to contract or get out of the program. If you don't commit to the Army, it's like, oh, hey, thanks for playing. See you later. Bye. Peace out.
So you could hypothetically get 2 years of paid college and then back out.
Well, you only get paid if you contract. So you can contract from the beginning. Like, those people that are like, I definitely want to be a doctor. Yeah. And they knew it all along.
Right.
So you could do that beforehand. And then there's like this, like, I want to like feel it out. I want to try it out real quick.
Right.
So I didn't do that. I just showed up junior year and was like, hello, can you give me money, please? I will sell my body.
Yeah.
And that worked out.
Yeah. Okay. And then from there, you went to training?
Yeah. So, man, it's crazy. Basically, you do ROTC, right? So my junior year, I contracted, and then I became like the stud that you know now.
Yeah.
Of course.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And,
Handsome Evans Wang.
Oh, thank you. Wow. And basically, you do your senior year, and then you graduate. Right after you graduate, you're guaranteed a job. Whether you go active or reserve depends on how you perform in school. Actually,
so the worse you are, the more active you are.
The Army might have you believe that. No, so if you perform well academically and physically through like just like, hey, how many push-ups can you do, bro? In 2 minutes,
right?
And then you'll get a slot for active duty based on what is known as like needs of the Army.
Okay,
and so like wherever the recruitment numbers are that year, and so I got selected for active duty. All right, yeah,
congratulations.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it's a very intense 5.5 years of my life.
Yeah.
And then, all right, so you graduate, right? You sit there and you wish you had Admiral McCraven give you your commencement speach. You guys familiar with that one? The one that's like make your bed?
Yeah.
Okay,
the UT one, yeah.
You just really wish you had that one. I have no idea who spoke. But then you basically are like, all right, cool. You just like wait for a date for the Army to tell you like, hey, we're ready for you. We need you now.
Yeah.
And for me, I graduated in May. That day was in September.
Okay.
So I had a great summer because I had a job. I guaranteed had a job.
To live it up.
That's right.
Fuck around a little bit.
I did. And I, while I lived at my mom's house, which was
no rent, baby.
No rent.
That's what I'm talking about. So the crazy thing is that was in 2010, like when the economy was like
bad,
not so very good.
Right.
Yeah. So I was partying because, I really didn't have much to worry about because it was guaranteed a job. Dude, so September comes around, you go to your training. So I'm a field artillery officer, and that is like the second longest officer training next to being a pilot because, like, they're like complicated or something.
Yeah, because they're flying $13 million planes.
Right. Past the sound barrier.
That's right. So I did that training. It was like 6 months. I immediately did some follow-on training. I did airborne school.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I jumped out of airplanes, which was super awesome.
Is airborne all static line, or do you do free fall? Okay.
Yeah. Oh, man.
What's static line?
It's just you jump and get pulled, right?
Yeah. So basically what it means is the Army said, how can I make this so that my soldiers can never fail? And that is, oh my God, when they jump out, I'll just have a line that's already attached to the bird so that when they jump, the bird pulls your chute for you.
Yeah.
What's the bird?
The plane.
The plane. The $13 million stuff that is really complicated to fly.
It's already attached to the sorry,
You're
the logistics
in,
of this.
Right? And so by you jumping, it pulls the chute out for you.
Okay.
So you don't need to monitor.
But that doesn't get caught in the engine or anything crazy like that.
I think they worked out those kinks.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure they did, but I guess just like a parachute, I guess, it's flying
a lot
away.
Of privates had to die, but they figured it out.
Yo, listen, that's kind of real because this is still sketch out there, even though it's all done for you.
Well, you don't. When you're doing a static line jump, do you still have a reserve?
Oh yeah, big time.
Do?
Oh yeah, 100%.
Because I guess I don't know. I've only skydived once, but there's a lot of leeway for the reserve to come out.
Yes,
but the static line like footage that I've watched, they look pretty close to the ground. It doesn't look like there's a lot of time for the reserve chute to come out.
So the Army tries to make it really simple for you, and they tell you to count to 4. And there's like a whole song about it. It's like jump right out and count to 4. There's like a whole cadence that you march to. You just don't forget.
Yeah.
And the Army's really good at counting to 4 because there's actually a joke like in one of the cadences. It's like 1, 2, 3, 4, and then the other people says you can't count to 5, and then it just repeats 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah.
And so basically, man, I might butcher this, but you stand up, and then you hook up, and then you shuffle to the door. Also a song.
Right.
The Army likes to give you these great mnemonics.
Yeah, they're really just a big theater school.
100%. Yeah.
It's funny that one of the world's largest killing forces is run by nursery rhymes.
100%. You have no idea how much I sing to Zuko, and it's all just all like, my buddy's in a foxhole, and he's like, yeah.
That's awesome.
But basically what happens is like you get packed in, right? You have your reserve right here. Your hand is always on the reserve.
Yeah.
Right. Just because you don't want to actually caught on something and just your reserve just blows out of nowhere.
Yeah.
But you hook your line up to this piece inside the bird.
Mm-hmm.
And then you basically just make sure it's out of the way. So when you get to the door to jump out, you hand it to the jump master. The jump master pulls it, holds it to the side, and then you just jump. Then you count to 4. And you look up and it's like, if you don't say anything, you pop that reserve.
Pull the reserve immediately.
I did not because they scared us. They're like, oh man, pop in the reserve. Like, don't do that. That's really bad because then someone else has to pack it for you. So
you should die.
Yeah. Better than packing your legs back into your ass.
Oh man.
Wait, so you jump, was this during training or did you ever jump out in the field?
Oh man, no, only during training.
Okay.
If you jump out in the field though, into combat, oh man, you get this little star on your airborne wings.
Really?
And it's a gold star, and the Army loves to really hype it up, and they call it the mustard stain, which is really the ultimate way to pay respect to somebody that jumped into combat. Like, oh dude, you got a mustard stain on your...
Oh, when is the last time they did a static line jump in combat? Because that's like Korea?
I don't know the last time, but I've met some folks like Desert Storm.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they've got some cool people out there.
Oh, interesting.
And they're never afraid to tell you how much older they are. And they'll say, things like, oh, hey, warrior, my underwear's got more combat experience than you do. And you're like, well, you've got the mustard stain, so you got to prove it. Yeah.
That's pretty sick. How long is the airborne course?
It is, believe it or not, all of 3 weeks.
Okay.
Yeah, so that sounds kind of short, but when you're there, it's super long. The Army likes to play this game called Hurry Up and Wait.
Yeah.
I've gotten so good at that.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah.
Yeah, mindfulness practice comes in when you're just waiting.
He's just hyped up on Tiger Bang Bang.
He's vibrating.
It's my energy, just my aura.
Yeah.
If the chute doesn't work, you just start flapping your wings. It's like a Red Bull substitute.
Oh, speaking of which, the crazy thing is, oh my God, I felt like Liu Kang one day.
Okay.
Because when you jump, the risers, which are like the cords that come out that attach your bag to the chute, if they get tangled in any way because the rigger might not have packed it right for whatever reason, or like the wind's blowing, it just kind of twists.
Yeah.
You put your fingers into the risers and you push up to try to detangle it. And then you want to actually create some sort of like centripetal force.
Yeah.
So in order to do that, you just start like kicking your legs like this.
Really?
I felt like Liu Kang doing like the little bicycle kick from Mortal Kombat. I was like, just trying to set myself free.
Yeah, and then while all this is going on, you're falling at like 80 miles per hour.
Yeah, you're literally like gaining momentum, hurling towards the ground.
Kind of like a Looney Tunes thing to see, though. A guy just running up and doing this. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that one's it. You like, what are all the schools that you had to go to? So you had to go to you go to basic, right?
Yeah, your officer basic course for officers. Yeah.
Right. Is that the same time as enlisted guys?
Oh, no. So the enlisted folk, and there's so much juicy information about that. So the enlisted folk go through like what you would consider your regular basic training. And that is like what you would imagine like Full Metal Jacket looks like.
Right.
And that is like everyone kind of shares bunk beds, and then you like pack a sock with a bar soap and you let people know like, hey, don't be the weak link. That training is followed immediately by what is known as like advanced individual training, AIT. And so that's when you do your specialty. So everyone goes through basic. Everyone learns like absolute basic soldier skills, like how to salute, right? Like you have to touch like the tip of your eyebrow, and you don't want to show the palm of your hand ever. Like all the drill and ceremony stuff.
Okay.
They run you to the ground.
Right.
They make you a real warrior. And then your advanced individual training is kind of like, hey, I was the cook, right? Like, so you have to go to like cook school.
Yeah.
Right.
Or you have to go to like infantry school or something. And so those are
Guy Fieri teaches the American cook school.
Hell yeah, brother. So that's for the enlisted. For officers, we go through either ROTC, that counts as like the officer course, and then you go through your advanced training. So for me, it was like field artillery school, where I learned how to shoot like a 155 millimeter rounds, put steel on like an ant's ass, like 10 clicks away.
Wow.
Which is cool.
But, so you can snipe people? Is that what you're telling me?
So I am not sniper qualified. I didn't go to sniper school. But if you need to put 100 pounds of high explosives, like some HE, 10 clicks away.
How far is a click?
1 kilometer. So 1,000. Yeah, in like, the smart people units, 1,000 meters.
Okay.
Smart people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you can do that.
I am qualified to do that, yes. I've taught it, actually. And it's so crazy how advanced that is. So field artillery school is like the second longest school, because they teach you, God, when I was in high school, I was like, man, I'm really good at math, but I don't really care about this. Yeah. Then I got to artillery school, I was like, man, I'm really good at math, and I really care about this.
I can't fuck this one.
Yeah, I definitely want to make sure that's at least 1,000 meters away from me.
Yeah.
Especially when every shell is like, what, $20,000?
Oh my God. And like, dude, you can get in big trouble, right? Like you have to call danger close if you're calling in shells, like within a certain distance of like friendlies. Yeah. And that school was nuts. I mean, you learn every aspect about it. As an officer, you're more like a generalist. So you learn how to do like forward observing, which is basically how many football fields can I count from something that's far away, because it's 100 meters.
Right.
And then you learn. So that's observing, right? Like if I see a round in the air and it lands, I can basically go, hey, that was too far. Drop it like 300 meters, like pull it back 300 and put steel on target.
Yeah.
And I can tell you about how far it is. I can look at something and then look at a map and be like, that shell landed right here. And you can pinpoint it from like my Mark II eyeballs to like basically where it is on the map. So that's like field, that's like an observer.
Okay.
And then you learn how to do the gun line, which is everything about the actual gun, the howitzer, like how to load it, right? How to make it go farther.
Yeah.
And then just so many factors, right? Like based on the angle of impact, you want to shoot that bad boy like high angle, which is going to impact time of flight. Okay. And if it's in the air longer, the barrel of like any weapon spins to the right.
Okay.
And so there's something called muzzle velocity variance, MVV. Basically, every single tube has a very slight variance from like the standard, because it's shot X amount of times.
Right.
And you calculate that. So based on the time that's in the air, it spins more. And if it spins more, it actually curves to the right. Like
so you're like bending artillery shots.
Yeah.
Wow.
What's that movie?
Wanted.
Yes, Wanted. Yeah. So
Fucking
you just
love that
shoot
movie.
artillery rounds like that because if it's in the air longer, it curves.
Yeah.
And so you learn how to basically calculate for that.
Right. And that's probably affected by how often you're shooting because like the heat, everything heats up and that changes the whole system.
Yeah.
No, it's a lot of physics.
Did you ever play the Canon game on PC where you just chose like, you know what I'm talking about?
Oh, 100%.
It's like Worms.
Yeah. I was great at that game.
It's
Yeah, I
like
bet.
you just choose velocity and angle,
Yep.
and you just try to hit the other cannon.
That's right.
That's what I'm imagining right now. But
Just a bunch of worms just being like, all right, charge 4, let's go.
Yeah.
Yeah. Except you don't hold like spacebar. You actually put like charges into the cannon and then you pull the lanyard.
How fucking loud is that explosion?
Well, I have tinnitus. So
yeah, I bet. I
What's
can only
tinnitus?
imagine.
Oh, you don't hear that ringing? Oh, just me? Oh, yeah.
Oh, so you have that all the time.
I wouldn't say all the time, but I have it very frequently. And it's super annoying because I ask my wife all the time. I'm like, hey, you hear that? She's like, hear what? And I'm like, okay, it is me.
Yeah.
It's
Heaven
really
forbid
annoying.
there actually be like a buzzing, like if you just have like a high frequency buzz in your house.
Oh, forget it. Yeah.
you'll
The
never know.
batteries on my smoke detector, thank God for Google and like the Nest or whatever, because I would just never change that thing.
Yeah.
It would be like, beep. And I'd be like, it's probably tinnitus. It's fine. I'll just leave that alone. Let my house burn down. No big deal.
Yeah.
Well, you know, at least you know how to blow up a thing from a fucking mile away, I guess.
Yeah.
Does that come in handy? Any like,
My tinnitus come in handy?
or I guess like how long were you deployed as that specific job, or was that the only thing you ever? Your only job in the field is at the Army.
Wow. I think that's like minimizing the role and the impact
Sorry.
of no, of like what an officer basically does. And you have different positions, right? That's just what is known as your MOS, your military occupational specialty. So I'm trained as a field artilleryman.
Gotcha.
But what you actually do is determined as to like what your role is. So typically the officer track is like you're a platoon leader. So you just get put in charge, right? So like I'll just like finish the training.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I did 6 months artillery school starting September. So imagine you just graduated, you party for the summer, and then you get the crap beat out of you. And then you get all this math and physics crammed in your head for 6 months. You jump out of airplanes for 3 weeks. And then you get assigned to your unit. Like at that point, you go to wherever unit you're assigned to. I was assigned to actually, quite honestly, a fantastic unit. I got really lucky, the 1-7 Field Artillery. But dude, I got there and the Army was like, oh, by the way, your unit's already deployed. You're a little bit late, bro.
Wow.
And I was like, all right, cool. So what do you need me to do? He's like, pack. I had just driven to Kansas, actually.
Yeah.
I got there and I'm like, all right, cool. I get to unpack. I get to live my life finally. I'm a soldier now. Okay, pack it all out because you are about to get on a bird. 3 weeks later, I was in Iraq.
Wow.
Whoa.
Yeah. 22, wet behind the ears, you know.
That's like whenever you get a job, they just like some companies will just throw you in and be like, all right, figure it out. Is that similar to what it's like, or did you feel prepared?
Yo, straight up, I was very prepared technically about what to perform. But what they say about leadership and management is a completely different skill set. It really is. And just straight up shout out to all the warriors out there because, oh my God, the OJT, like on-job training that you get, first class, really.
Well, yeah, I assume it's pretty intense to have your first day in a war zone.
Yeah. I would imagine that when I got there, they made me like sit in what is known as like the TOC, right? The Tactical Operations Center. And I was like assisting the battle captain. So that's the person that's got like eyes in the skies. If there's like a blimp, like a Led Zeppelin, like a blimp,
right?
And that's like observing everything that's on the ground. You've got UAVs. You throw the Raven around. You could see the entire battlefield. It's crazy how much Big Brother visibility we can have if we wanted it.
Okay, terrifying.
And so I'm on there. Like every single radio that comes in to headquarters goes through the Tactical Operations Center. So when you're seeing like Black Hawk Down and you're just all like, headquarters, like, hey, it's me, I'm in trouble. Or just like a regular sit rep, like, hey, we're a little low on water, but we'll be okay. Like every radio comes through there. So you get insane amount of situational awareness. You have to process so many things at once. And one of those things is like headquarters will tell you like, hey, like we see something going down on this road, and they'll mark it as black. Like, hey, do not go down that street. There's some suspicious garbage over there. Do you know what I'm saying? Some wires are coming out of that garbage. Don't go there. And I think what wound up happening was a couple of weeks in, one of the platoon leaders was like, I'm gonna get one of those bad guys. I see him, but he's down one of these like black routes. Like I shouldn't be going down there, but hey, I'm the commander on the ground and I'm gonna get this bad guy. We didn't get the bad guy.
Okay.
And he went down the route, and you know, there's a lot of rules in the military.
Yeah, there's repercussions for breaking the rules.
And one of those repercussions was, it was like, hey, we need to be able to like trust that if we say don't go somewhere, that you don't go there. There was other reasons not to be on that route, apparently. I'm not really sure if I could say why or anything, but basically what wound up happening was that person needed a quick break because that person was leading soldiers down roads that he shouldn't have been.
Yeah.
And just like that, they were like, hey, we need a new platoon leader. We need someone to go outside the wire and lead these soldiers in combat and follow some rules.
Yeah.
Hey, Lieutenant Wang, what are you doing right now?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So I got there, like, so mind you, May graduated, right?
Yeah.
Forgot my commencement speaker. September, I was in training.
Yeah.
And then 6 months after that, airborne school. 3 weeks later, I was in Iraq. And then like less than a month later, I was leading troops in combat, like outside the
So
wire.
you're like 22, 23 at this time.
I'm still 22.
Okay. Are the people you're leading your age, younger or older?
Most of them are much older than you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you get a lot of that experience where you're in charge and you kind of have no idea what you're doing. And you have to tell like a 35-year-old, like I'm 35. I have to double check some old as shit. Yeah, I'm 35.
Yeah.
Right. I couldn't imagine a 22-year-old being like, hey, I know more than you. Don't do that. I'm like,
Yeah.
yes, sir. You got it. Whatever you need.
Yeah.
Right.
And just the patience that the sergeants have. That, mind you, they've probably been deployed twice at this point.
Right.
Yeah.
Like they have a lot of
Yeah.
experience, not just in life, but in these actual situations.
Yeah. And I'm telling them that, like, look, listen, Sergeant, I really know what's going on. All right. Because I just graduated and my philosophy class told me, and he don't want to hear it. You know?
Yeah.
But he will.
Yeah.
And-
He has to, right?
God, yeah. They're so patient and they call them the backbone of the Army. The
enlisted
sergeants.
guys and sergeants?
Yeah, the sergeants.
Where is that in the rankings?
So if we were to break it down, you have your officer ranks. So it's your lieutenants, captains, majors, colonels, then generals. It's not that many, right?
Right.
They break them down. There's like technically 10 of them, but in your enlisted, it's also like 10. So you have like your private first class, your specialists, and then right after that, so that's like 4 ranks where you're basically an individual contributor, so to speak, where you're like the one, you're doing everything.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, hey, is that shed dirty? Hey, privates,
Yeah.
that shed's dirty. Here's a broom. Figure it out.
Yeah.
And then right after that, so your 4 ranks are your individual contributors. Right after that, you make sergeant at E5. So E is just like enlisted 5. From there, you just climb the sergeant ranks. Your staff sergeant, sergeant first class, your master sergeant, first sergeant, and then you become sergeant major.
Uh-huh.
And those people have typically like 18 to 24 years plus, up to like almost 40 in the Army.
But
And-
they're still taking orders from guys who are 22 and did ROTC.
According to the textbook, that is factually correct. Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At some point, decorum takes over the technicality. And what I mean by that is like, yes, I'm 22. I've got this butter bar. It's like the gold lieutenant rank.
Yeah.
And I can legally tell this person who's been in the Army 22 years, like, hey, you need to stand at attention when you're talking to me.
Yeah.
But if you do that, like their right hand is the colonel.
Right.
So they can very much be like, hey, that Lieutenant Wang's really sharp. He put me at the position of attention today. Oh, did he now?
Yeah.
Oh, I'd love to see Lieutenant Wang in my office. I have some great things to talk to him about.
Okay.
So you learn about office politics really quick, even though
Right.
you might not think that that exists in the military.
Yeah.
That's a real thing.
But
course.
it's just one of those things where it's kind of like common sense also. Like if you're not smart enough to read the room, it's like this guy isn't smart enough to lead troops.
Dude,
Right. That's a good point.
Yeah.
Oh man, I wish this radio show came out like 20 years ago because that still happens.
Really?
You'd be surprised. Yeah, the ego is out of control.
Oh yeah,
in the military. Yeah, like young Captain Wang might have put some senior leaders in the position of attention, and then later on was told that was a bad idea.
Yeah.
So I learned that lesson the hard way.
But
thanks
do you
for
think,
the common sense.
Do you think young Captain Wang was wanting people's respect, or do you think he was just doing what he was told to do?
I am not the humble man you see before you
today. Okay.
Right.
Yeah. Something about an ego and being right was really important to me at the time.
Yeah, of course.
And yeah, man, you ever seen that Keanu Reeves meme where he's like, yeah, I hit a point in my life where like, you can tell me 1 + 1 is 4 and I'm going to be like, dude, you're right.
Yeah.
You're so right.
Yeah.
I've achieved this status.
Where do you think that came? Do you think that came from the Army, or do you think that came post-Army?
That definitely came toward the end of my Army career, where I realized that being right is not the most important thing. And man, there's so many times when I wish I had applied that logic beforehand. I mean, thank God it was all in garrison though.
Okay.
Because, you don't want that ego when like bullets are flying.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's the thing is being right is, in some situations, it's just about being decisive, I imagine. Like things just need to get done quickly.
Yeah. That is also something that I learned after the Army.
Oh, okay.
That in the Army, things literally were life and death.
Right.
If someone was like, we need this now. Well, that's not the right thing. I'm like, I don't give a because I'm kind of getting shot at.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And then it's so funny in the civilian world, I learned this term called cultural appropriation.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, we've
And-
heard of it. Yeah.
Oh, you're familiar with this?
Yeah,
Yeah, we do it all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've gotten pretty good at it. And you hear a lot of people complain about it. But the weird thing is, like us vets, we are culturally appropriated. I don't know if that's the right phrasing of that.
Okay.
All the time. Dude, I can't tell you how many times at work, they'll just be like, all right, guys, let's talk about the quarterly, whatever. When we talk about these numbers, let's get in the war room.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
people love making their dumb job.
it's so
like,
it's so crazy.
Yeah.
let's get a sit rep. It's like, dude, we're at a cafe.
Yeah.
What are we doing here? Yeah.
Yeah. And so I kind of just was like, this is not that important to fight. And I was like, cool, man. Cool.
Yeah.
Oh, so the actually real high stakes of being in war made a lot of other things just completely ridiculous. To where being right was not important in those situations. It was more about navigating the relationship part of it.
Oh my God, that helps so much because people ask me like, Evans, how are you so calm all the time? And I'm all like, dude, I'm breathing that free air, man. You know what I'm saying?
Because I'm not in Kabul.
Yeah. Like our base was bombed really bad. And so
This is where?
this is in Iraq, in Baghdad.
Okay.
And like a joint base that we were at. And there are different like nets. Like, how we have like the public internet and then you have like the dark web and stuff.
Yeah.
There's like a separate intranet. It's on like a secret line from the government. And there's just some footage there that can really give you some horrible nightmares. And so sometimes I think back and they'll be like, people are panicking and they're like, oh, this is due by end of day. And I'm like, is it though?
Right.
Is it? Like, if we get this to this person on Monday, you're probably going to eat a delicious meal this weekend. It's fine.
Right.
Yeah.
And you'd be surprised how often deadlines are really not like super firm and just being really calm and having a very calm, confident presence just makes all the difference. And so, just not being shot at is pretty good. That helps a lot for the calmness.
I can only imagine.
Yeah.
Yes.
Monster energy helps too when you're really trying to get calm.
Yeah.
You said your base got bombed in Baghdad?
Yeah.
Is this the story you told me where you had to like run into a thing?
Oh man, yeah. There's a lot of stories.
How long were you in Iraq?
6 months.
Okay, 6 months.
6 months. the unit was there for a year. Like I said, I showed up late.
Whoa.
I was like, "Yo, guys, I'm here, full of energy, ready to party. Put me in, coach."
Yeah.
And they did. But yeah, there was a lot of bombings that year specifically for that base. And dude, bunkers are a funny thing. Like you feel like there's like a sense of safety when it comes to bunkers, but man, when that steel rain comes down, it's anyone's guess.
Is it all mortar rounds?
No. So human ingenuity is fascinating. And you think that as the good guys, whatever that means, like you think that you have all of the technology, right? Like, no.
Yeah.
Listen, let me tell you about something about physics. It is a neutral ideology and state and calculation. And so, yes, there's some mortars, but I mean, they'll take like unexploded ordnance and they'll rewire it and they'll just put it on like a rocket. They'll throw it on a bongo truck. And they just have to make a phone call, and that thing will shoot.
What do you mean unexposed ordnance?
Unexploded. So, like, if I, as an artilleryman, maybe didn't do my due diligence, and let's just say I'm on a patrol, and for whatever reason, that patrol gets attacked, right? Of course, your people and your equipment are really important, but if I had to pick one, the people are more important. So if you need to exfil, you need to get out of there, and that truck is down, like you got to leave the truck.
Gotcha.
Sometimes you shouldn't, but if you absolutely have to, and then you're like, oh, I'll come back for that later.
Right.
And when you come back for it, the truck is gone.
Yeah.
They towed it.
Yeah. They took it.
Or occasionally you'll put a fuse on a round, and maybe that fuse wasn't perfectly set, or for whatever reason, it just didn't explode. You now have like a bomb that's just sitting there, didn't explode.
Yeah.
And there are people that'll be brave enough
Right.
that'll just walk up to it and be like, well, if it hasn't exploded, I mean, it's probably okay. They'll just go up to it and they'll literally disarm it and they'll take the explosives out and then they'll just, repurpose them for their purposes.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Dude.
Okay, let me tell you about this one. The craziest people in the Army.
Uh-huh.
I mean, dude, don't get me wrong. The Special Forces folks are just out of this world. But,
of course.
The EOD, the explosive ordnance people,
Insane. Yeah.
out of control brave. And I use that because that's the best way I can describe them. Some people might describe them in other ways, but brave is the one I'm going to use.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I can't tell you, man, there's something called daisy chaining.
Uh-huh.
And that is when you basically link one bomb to another bomb. And so if one blows up, it basically completes the circuit and then other bombs will blow up. I remember we were on this mission and we were like, hey, those pile of wires look a little sus, So you call it in, you call headquarters. You're like, hey, headquarters, hey, this is me. I think we've got this like unexploded ordnance here. And they're like, all right, cordon the area, like pull security. I'm like, all right, cool. So we're just guarding this bomb, right?
Right.
From like civilians and everything. So people like kids like don't play with it.
Mm-hmm.
And the EOD team comes out. And you would think, right? I mean, you've seen like the Hurt Locker.
Yeah.
You're like, oh man, this guy's gonna come out full freaking suit, like a juggernaut suit from Call of Duty, right? And they just come out and like, all right, let me check it out. Homeboy just pulls out of his truck, flies the door open. You can see like Fortunate Son playing in the background. He kicks it in, and then he walks up to it and goes, all right, let's dig it up, and just digs it up, and it goes, all right, here's the problem, and he just like pulls the wires out. Like a root vegetable, just he goes, like all right, it's good. Yeah, like a turnip. He's like, all right, it's good. Throw it in the back of the truck.
Fuck? Yeah,
because we have to save that, right? Like we can't let that fall into the hands of the enemy.
Yeah.
Just throws it in the back of the truck, and I was like, damn, I am not as cool as I thought I was.
Yeah,
that's
it's a very humbling moment.
Are you standing? How far are you from watching this happen?
The correct legal answer is 50 meters. Is exactly how far I was standing away, where I can very clearly see him pulling out the wires because my vision's that good. So I. Yes, I was the safe distance away.
But even like how
commercial for
cooperative?
LASIK eye surgery.
How cooperative are civilians? Like, are they like, what the get out of here?
That's a mixed bag, because that's the thing about non-conventional warfare is you don't know. Like, there's no uniform. You know, they're not all like, here, the redcoats are coming. You know, like, oh, you're in the red coat. You're bad, right? Yeah. And so some people are like, thank God you're here. I've done humanitarian missions. Those are my favorite.
Yeah.
When you go out and you're like, hey, soccer balls for everyone. Here's a book bag.
Right.
You know, those are the best.
Yeah.
I mean, the people, they love you.
Yeah.
And I will tell you, even on those same humanitarian missions where you go out there and you're like, here's a bunch of free water. Hell yeah. You still come back and you check your truck for like IEDs.
Yeah.
You know, you still do the scans and everything. Right. And that's always really scary. Like that even when you're out there trying to help, not everyone sees it that way.
Yeah.
And so I guess to answer your question, for the most part, the peaceful majority are doing their best. And I think that the idea of tattling and snitching is tricky because people try to tell you things, but they don't want to look like they're telling you things. Mm-hmm. Like, for example, I remember one of the things like winning hearts and minds out there is you had to go on these joint patrols with the Iraqi army. Mm-hmm. And so at the time, in lieu of the Iraqi army, they had like something called the First Federal Police. So it was basically like local police forces would come out on these missions with you so that the people can see like, hey, the U.S. and the local police and the local army, they're working hand in hand to make this place like safer. Mm-hmm. And you have your interpreter with you. And God, the interpreter job's so tough, right? Because it's not like word for word translation.
Yeah.
It's like I'm picking up some subtext that he's telling me. Like, so for example, I remember being on this one mission. And he was like, oh, that guy says that road's too dirty. You shouldn't go down that road. I'm like, too dirty? There's like garbage everywhere. It's fine. He's like, no. That road is like, it's just littered with garbage. So dirty. Like he's saying that like you shouldn't turn down that road. Mm-hmm. I was like, what do you mean? Oh, yeah. Oh, it's a little dirty.
Yeah.
Yeah, that road's real dirty. Okay, yeah. We can make the right on the next one. No big deal.
Right.
And so, yeah, there's some good people out there that I think are just looking out for saving lives. But it's definitely not everyone, man.
Yeah.
It's intense.
Yeah, but they're also going about their lives. I mean, that's one of the crazy things about like, and fortunately for me, like all my references for this are movies, right? So but you do get glimpses of that of like, oh yeah, these people are like going to work and going about their daily lives while there's intermittent fighting going on. So that has to be kind of a surreal experience to see that.
Yeah, it's so crazy because, you know, I remember this one mission we went on because higher headquarters were like, we think that there's like somebody that has like a weapons cache.
Yeah.
I straight up thought I was in like a Call of Duty mission. Mm-hmm. I didn't tell my soldiers that that's how I felt, but that's really how I felt.
Yeah.
And we go out there, we're like, all right, we know there's a weapon stash here.
I can just imagine your 37-year-old sergeant is like, is this guy bringing up Call of Duty right now?
Yeah, shut the fuck up.
Sir, you can't drop the loadout anytime you want. You don't have infinite bullets. Yeah. There's no respawns. But basically, yeah, we went out and this guy had an RPG on his shoulder, ready to fire, sees our trucks and is like, nah, dog, it's not worth it. Drops it, runs, and we go and recover this RPG. And we're like, all right, we were doing presence patrols at the time, which means that like you just have to show force. You just have to physically let people know, like, hey, I'm around.
It's like patrols.
Yeah. Just to let people know, like, hey, I'm still around. So if the bad guys are here, let me know. So, you know, just driving around, and I just remember having this, like, recovered this RPG, and then being like, are you guys hungry? And we'll just like stop by and just grab some of the most delicious naan ever. I just remember eating naan and being like, yeah, we really got to get back. This is so good though.
Yeah, that's very strange.
Yeah, those people just living their best life.
How integrated into the city were you during your time?
I was like in the Mahalas. If I could show you some pictures, like me and my platoon are just walking through the streets. One of them actually made like a U.S. Army like .mil, like the homepage, where is one of my sergeants, and he's just it could have been the cover of like that Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 where the person's like got the glasses, he's like full kitted out.
Yeah.
There's like sand blowing and he's like walking alone.
Yeah.
That picture was of my old sergeant.
Yeah.
I mean, not that exact one, but one that looks exactly like that.
Yeah.
And so we're like literally walking, I'm like interacting.
Like, are you eating at the cafe? Like, are you guys also like geared out while you're like shopping?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So you're like in the actual mahalas, you're like walking the streets, you're like talking to them because you want to build enough rapport where people want to come and talk to you. So you constantly have just freebies on you all the time. And they learn that. And so it's so scary because you learn about people who like are suicide bombers.
Yeah.
And at the same time, there's people that just run up to you and is like, hey, can I have some candy? Or like, hey, like, do you have an extra notebook for my daughter?
Yeah.
And you're like, you got it, no problem. And they just run up to you.
Right.
And so you just, you let them. Let them do it.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was looking on my.
No, yeah, it looks the same. The run up, I assume.
Yeah. And man, it just brings back a lot of memories. Sorry.
Yeah.
But basically, yeah, you're fully in the village, like in the town,
Yeah.
and you get to know them. Dude, the electrical grid.
Yeah. Is it good?
I will say it works.
Oh, really?
I don't know how consistently. Dude, oh my God. You ever like look at your like electric panel?
Yeah.
Right? And hopefully you open it, it's all labeled. You're like, I got to turn like the bathroom off because I'm going to do I'm changing like a light bulb or whatever, right?
Sure.
And it's all labeled and everything. Dude, oh my God. You ever seen like a picture of a server room? And like all the cables are like in and they're like color coded. It's like taped. Okay, imagine that, except nothing's color coded, nothing's taped, and the wire isn't even like covered. There's no rubber on it. It's just everywhere.
It's literally just
everything
copper
is
wire.
sparking.
Yeah.
That's so you're like having to like go through and figure out which switch does what. Like, the switch was the hospital. Shit.
Not me.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's sometimes you'd be out there and you'd be like, oh my God, like someone would complain about a power outage and you'd be like, all right, well, let me go help you out. Let's investigate. And you'd get like the village electrician and they'd come out and you'd basically guard them and they would fix this thing. And you'd be like, oh my God, how is this town like functioning right now?
So just for my own curiosity, back to like that kind of feeling of like people coming up to you and you're balancing like, how much do I trust them to show that we trust them? And there's got to be like a constant state. I mean, you're in a war zone, right? So there's got to be a constant state of angst, right? How do you ever acclimate to that to the point where it's like you're like, oh, well, this is where I am, or is it 6 months of like fuck?
Grant, you just absolutely nailed it. And the truth of that answer is you do acclimate. You do exactly that.
Yeah.
You are just constantly like, the word vigilant, it's funny. The word vigilant is ingrained in me. Vigilance is my watchword.
Uh-huh.
The hard part is, and the truth is, you never go back.
Yeah.
I don't know if you just saw me look over my shoulder. You never go back. And that's a lot of that PTSD. Like you can like imagine being so high strung that a Monster Energy calms you down.
Right.
But yeah, you're always alert. Like there are times when I first got back where I couldn't walk down the streets, especially of New York, because there's garbage everywhere.
Yeah,
so
you just see IED piles.
Yeah, so you basically like on garbage day, I'd be like, oh, like I couldn't walk the block because I'd be like, oh, hell no. It's debilitating.
There's like rats in them, and you just like hear something scurrying around.
This has to be the worst city on earth to try and re-enter civilian life.
Well, yeah. So basically, you're constantly on alert, and it's it's exhausting. And if you weren't so tired, it's like impossible to go to sleep.
Yeah. Do you feel like I mean, obviously it's something that will always have an imprint on you, but do you feel like you've gotten to a place now where, I mean, you got here.
I made it. Yeah.
Yeah.
My wife dropped me off. It was great. I had my cute little dog. She's my service dog.
Right.
Yes. So there is a point where you become a functioning member of society again.
Yeah.
And there was a long time when I was angry all the time. Dude,
Yeah.
you have no idea how luxurious sitting in this chair is.
Yeah.
It's so crazy. Like, man, to all the soldiers out there, like, your rucksack, there's something called the rucksack flop.
Okay.
Have you heard of this?
No.
Imagine your book bag is so big that you can just lie down and you're like basically just laying on it, relaxing, like as if you were like in bed. You just and the book bag, the rucksack is like right there. Like,
That's how you learn to nap. Essentially, is just like
learn to nap. I don't know if I learned as much as like it was like a physical response of the body.
Yeah.
Right. Like I'll tell you about that in a second. But basically, when you're like deployed, it's so austere. I slept in a bathroom with like 4 other dudes. Like the urinal was like right here, and I just like slept next to it. Kind of gross. We also used it as a bathroom.
Yeah. Oh well, multi-purpose room.
Oh yeah. You get real close with your battle buddies, and so basically, man, when you are thinking about where to sit, where to relax, there's kind of nothing around. There might be like a milk crate.
Okay.
And so when I got back, I just heard a lot of people going like, oh, that chair doesn't match my aesthetic. And I'm like, oh my God, there's so much fluff in that chair. It's so comfortable. How dare you? This is mad all the time about everything. Dude, I ate out of a bag. So when people complained about food, I'd be like, you have no idea how nice you have it.
Yeah, you're eating rations.
I'm over here drinking my luxurious branded Monster energy drink.
Yeah, you used to drink Tiger Bang Bang or whatever.
How bad are MREs? I mean, it just has to get wear on you after a while.
Oh my God. The MREs, in terms of their taste, are not going to win any Michelin awards. But golly, if they're not good at their job. Like, what I mean by that is, I don't really remember having diarrhea.
Yeah.
Hey.
Overseas.
Doing better than we are here.
Hey, no diarrhea in the Middle East?
Yo,
all right.
Bless up. Yeah.
That's pretty impressive stuff.
Yeah. I mean, you also like poop like once a week, but that's fine.
Because you're so stocked up. I've heard that the peanut butter just clogs you up.
Forget it. Yeah. My God. That thing has like 800 grams of fiber.
Nice.
But yeah, so about the... You heard that, right?
Yeah, you're good.
Okay. That happens a lot. But so like about like just learning to sleep and not really learning it. Dude, if someone asked me like, oh man, you military people can sleep anywhere. Like, what's your secret? How do you do it? And I'm like, all right, yo, check it out. Ready? So wake up at 4:00 tomorrow. Run 2 or 4 miles. It doesn't really matter. But what if it rains? Did I stutter?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then just do arbitrary number of push-ups, maybe some jumping jacks, like 50 burpees, and then run another mile. And then take a quick shower, like really quick, and then work your full workday.
Yeah.
And then if you're tired at all, no napping.
Yeah.
And then just see if you can stay up till like 10:30.
Yeah, you'll
like a little
sleep the greatest sleep of your life if you do all that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what time you go to sleep. Doesn't matter. Like 9, 10:30, 7 p.m., get up at 4 again.
Yeah.
And do it again. And do that for a week straight. And I guarantee you will not have learned how to sleep anywhere. Your body will just...
Yeah.
The second you give it the chance, you're out. Just
That's when you can sleep on your back.
Yeah.
That's that kind of territory.
I sleep standing up on the subway. I'm riding the subway.
Really?
And so like, stand clear of the closing doors, please. I'm like, all right, great.
Wow. I don't know if that's a good thing.
Yeah. It's whenever you sleep on the subway, though, you probably have that, like, you still know what stop is next somehow.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because are you from the city?
Yeah. I'm from Falashing with all the other Chinese people.
Oh,
that's right.
Falashing.
I'm a city boy.
Nice.
Queens.
Yeah.
Born and bred.
That's right.
What was that like? Do you feel like whenever you got to the military, right, you're meeting people from every walk of life, where people are like, oh, you city boy, fucking...
Yo, believe it or not, yes. And by every walk of life, you mean like 99% of the Midwest.
Yeah.
Hey, represent.
That's right. That's right. So back when I lived in good old Manhattan, Kansas, right? The little apple, they call
little
it.
apple. Yeah.
I remember being like one of the few like Chinese people there, and they were being very friendly. Like it does not come from a place of malice.
Yeah.
But it's really hard to like steal, because they know you.
Right.
So like you go into the grocery store, you automatically become like a regular, and you're like a local.
Are you planning on stealing?
No. But I just remember like making one of the hardest decisions of my life and being like, well, Oreo O's is on sale today, but Great Grains is also pretty good and delicious. And just one of the store clerks were like, oh, hey, Chinaman. And I'm just like, that's me.
Oh, no.
Yeah. And I didn't really think anything of it until I came back to New York where people were like, that was racist.
Right.
And I was like, was it though?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It didn't feel like
No.
it was, but it didn't feel like it. Yeah.
It's all about the intent.
Right,
Yeah.
right,
Intent's
right,
important.
right.
It wasn't intended to be racist, but he also could have been like, hey, friend.
Yeah.
You know?
Hey, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he had to let me know why he knew me though.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh, right. From China.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, and I was actually asked that. So there's like a Thai restaurant, which is not Chinese.
Yeah.
Like that was like in the
Oh.
same shopping mall. And they're like, hey, do you know the people that run the Thai shop? And I was like, why would I know them? They're like, oh, you guys know each other, right? I'm like,
Yeah.
Jeez.
and I just said yes. It didn't matter.
For a second, I thought you were going to say when you got to the army, people were like, are you from the Chinese army? Like, crazy question to ask.
Oh my God. No, it's so crazy. Cause I grew up with all those Chinese people. So it was like super normal for me.
Yeah.
And I remember, so the 7 train last stop is Flushing.
Uh-huh.
And I just remember walking around Flushing one day and this guy emerges from the subway station. He's like, oh my God, I think we're in the town of China or something. And
Yeah.
I'm like, welcome. Yeah.
It's crazy though, because like there's also like the stop in there's a stop off in Bay Ridge, like 8th Avenue in Bay Ridge. Where everything is in Chinese.
Yeah, we're cockroaches.
No, well,
we expand and we just, we put our flag down and we're like, this is it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's like one of the coolest parts of the city is like when you go to Chinatown, it's like, oh, everything is in Chinese. It's like, it feels authentic.
It's very cool. I always joke that like we have like military bases always all over the world. China has Chinatowns all over the world. That's
100%.
their military strategy.
Yeah. I mean, like, think about it, right? Like, it's so pervasive that you can be like, oh, what town are you in? Like, oh, are you in downtown Dallas?
Yeah.
Or are you in like downtown Manhattan, Kansas? And be like, oh, are you in like Chinatown, Dallas? Like, there's just like a
it's
Chinese
wild.
base.
Yeah, like DC has like a really great Chinatown.
New York City has like 4 Chinatowns.
Yeah.
I mean, there's official Chinatown, but then I got to get some restaurant recommendations.
100%.
For Flushing.
I'm here for it. And it's funny because you don't have to know that you've entered Chinatown from like a street or like a border or a map. You just smell it.
Yeah.
And you just walk in, you're like, oh, I'm in Chinatown.
The fish
Yeah.
market.
Yeah.
The open fish market is dude, and they have the cheapest groceries too. which
Oh,
is great.
bless up.
Yeah.
Oh, 100%, man. I'm telling you.
But that's a thing though for like Thai people. Like the Thai government actually has people open restaurants
Yes.
in cities as a way to like get their branding out there.
Oh, that's
essentially.
genius.
Yeah. It's sponsored by the government. They pay you to move to another country and just open a Thai restaurant.
Honestly, though, I'll eat some sometime and I'll be like, I need to travel to Thailand.
Yeah. And it's such a great thing because you're having a positive experience with this culture if you've never,
You don't
run
know
into
anything
it
about
before.
it. You're like, your
Yeah.
food's amazing.
They don't send the lady boys over here. They just send the food over.
Yeah, they're like,
And then they get you when you go.
Yeah, but if they really wanted me to go,
they would send,
I know exactly what they should send over.
yeah.
oh man.
But yeah, so you did Iraq, you did it, but you were in Iraq, and then you came back, and then you still had, it sounds like 4 years on your contract.
Yeah. So the Army has a really high op tempo, and like that's like operational tempo. Like you do a lot very quickly. And so when you're back, and this is like a really heartbreaking thing. You go back and you do like typically what is like R&R, like your rest and relaxation. And when you're from the city, you don't really know a lot of people in the Midwest, and it's tough because when you deploy, man, you really think you're like, man, I'm a goddamn hero. I did it. And you're on the bird from like Iraq to the States. And you just kept thinking, man, I can't wait to see my family. I can't wait to see, like, you know, I want to go to that place where, like, everybody knows your name. I'm a soldier, not a singer, obviously. And I just got there, and, you know, the person I was with at the time wasn't just going to, like, live in Kansas. Like, she had no community. It was, like, really unfair. Because I got there, and they're like, all right, cool, it's time for you to deploy, bye. So it didn't make sense for her to, like, start living there. She was like, I'm still going to live at home. She was in California at the time. So when I actually landed, I'm like, all my sergeants are like embracing their family. Their kids are like, Daddy, I missed you. And I'm just there like, hello, I'm a hero. It's me. Like high five in the air, you know, because you don't want to go interrupt that like reunion moment, right? All the stuff that you see, like the USO, like the montage of like the reunion, like the, oh my God, I haven't seen you in like 300 days.
Right.
And so you can't like, you know, I'm not going to photobomb that. Right. So I just.
You don't want to be that guy that's kind of waiting around for your chance to insert.
Hey, Sergeant, you got to introduce me to your wife who you're going to do things that you haven't been able to do in like 300 years. Like, no, Lieutenant White, get out of here. Get out of here, man. Of course. So I showed up, I got off the bus, and there's the reintegration center is what they call it when you come back, because, oh my God, yo, you ever do that moment where you're like, fuck, where are my keys? Where's my wallet? Right? Oh, my cell phone. Like you do the pat down.
Right.
You do that with your weapon.
Yeah. Where's my gun?
Yeah. And they basically like the whole time it's like, hey, we're going to take this from you and it's okay for you not to have it anymore. Yeah. And you're like, are you sure? Is this a trick? You know?
Well, it's such a essential part of your life for 6 months.
Yeah. And there's so much that they kind of talk to you over and over and over, where they're all like, hey, you can't just like go on a mission anymore. Like, you're going to be by yourself. We're going to trust you. You're going to behave. Right. So in order to kind of make sure that people don't get too crazy when you're deployed, there's no alcohol drinking. It's so important that like the standing general, like the general officer, like they're allowed to issue a bunch of orders, right? Like, hey, you're not allowed to do this, you're not allowed to do this. So the general officers, their first order of business, no alcohol. It's called GO1. It's like general order number 1.
This is while you're deployed or when you get back?
When you're deployed. When you get back, it's like you're an adult.
Yeah.
Except, you know, we can send you over there when you're 18, 19, come back when you're 20, and you're still not really like allowed to.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a lot of like reintegration where they constantly talk to you like, hey, the war is over for you. It's cool. Like, you're back now. You're back. Yeah. And I had all of that the whole time blasting. And also, thank you for your service. You did amazing. Yeah. Like AC/DC's playing. Right. I'm just standing there by myself like,
I
wish my family was here.
So when that happened, were you like, were you feeling like I belong over there? Or is it just like, I need to make some phone calls?
I mean, it's insanely lonely. And that's like the most dangerous part, you know, because to your point, it's not that I missed being over there because it's dangerous. It's that I was important and needed. Yeah. You know, kind of like what we talk a lot about here, you know, in like modern society where people aren't like in tribes anymore. Yeah. Because tribes, if you were down one person, that meant a lot of work for everybody else. The economies of scale for a tribe of like 30 people is like everyone has a really important role. So if you're out or you're down, like everyone has so much to do. And there's a massive sense of belonging because you're so important. Even if you and I are fighting about something. Right. It doesn't matter because it's like Grant's a piece of shit, but God, I really want those turnips. Very true. I'll just forgive you really quickly because I want those turnips, you know? Okay.
Yeah. Right. So there's like a common goal that kind of brings you together past all the maybe like petty bullshit.
Yeah. And then when you're back, it's like if you have nothing, you know, like where am I going to get that dopamine hit? And sometimes it comes in a brand new Dodge Charger.
Oh, yeah. Did you get the Charger?
Hell no, I didn't.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I should have got a minivan. Yeah. No, I didn't. But what I did was I had a 1996 Nissan 240 SX, aka the Drift King. Uh-huh. Oh, nice. And you have to remember, like at this time, like the Fast and the Furious Tokyo Drift was a really big thing.
Of course.
And
still is. Yeah.
And man, I fell under every stereotype, That thing had like a large muffler for no reason.
Oh, no. Did you have the katana stick shift?
Oh, hell yeah. Hell yeah, brother, I did.
Wait, so you were drifting around Manhattan, Kansas?
No, I was not drifting around Manhattan.
But
Kansas.
was this in Manhattan, Kansas?
That is correct.
That's definitely why that guy called you Chinaman.
Yeah.
You're driving that car.
Honestly, for him, he was like 20 years ahead of the time.
That's right. I pulled it. I drifted into the spot, and I was like, I need 20 pounds of rice right now.
So, do you feel like that integration aspect? Did they do a good job with that, or was it more just like they had a basic program, they give it to you, and then go figure it out yourself? Like, did you feel supported by the Army when you came back?
I can't say that I was abandoned, but what I can say is that it was a personally incredibly lonely experience.
Yeah.
And I can see why soldiers who don't have an incredibly strong family support system, they turn to drugs. They turn to like really high octane, like high adrenaline behaviors to kind of get that rush again, because they don't have anything else grounding them.
Yeah.
And that's really scary. It's a scary time.
Yeah.
Good thing for me was that my high octane adrenaline moment was like working out.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Yeah. It's like a pretty solo activity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was fine.
And it's healthy.
Yeah.
For the most part.
For the most part, yeah.
But they don't like, because I guess in my mind, the thing would be monitoring, like checking in. And you can, reaching out is a hard thing to do, especially if you're like a tough guy, right? So man. Do they do that? Do they check up on people? Do they make sure like, hey, we know that this X amount of period of time, like these next 6 months after you come back is going to be like.
Yeah, man, I really want to highlight something. It's such a great question, Grant. Thank you for asking, seriously, because the reality is that is something that the Army has like nicknamed the good idea fairy. Like, this is a great idea.
Yeah.
But when you really think about what the implementation details are, it kind of falls apart. And that is, who is supposed to check in on you? It has to be someone that was there with you. Has to be someone that cares. Has to be someone that really knows, understands. But that person hasn't seen his wife in like 340 days.
Yeah.
This person is not trying to call you to make sure you're okay.
Okay.
Because I'm getting the lowdown on what my son did, and I'm like, oh my God, like you're finger painting. Like I want to do this. Like, oh, I haven't seen you in 340 days. Like I want to take you to a movie. Like I want to go on a picnic.
Yeah.
I want to just do the normal things. I want to grocery shop with you. Like I want to spend time with my family.
Yeah.
And the idea that the Army, and they do encourage you. They're like, hey, check on your battle buddies. You should always call them. But the reality is like, that is somewhat of an unfair ask, because imagine I'm spending time with my family and you're a little bit lonely. I haven't seen them in like a year.
Yeah.
Right. Like my kid grew up, like some people went from 6th grade to 7th. They graduated elementary school. Right. And then the next day I'm like, yo, Hamza, I just want to check and make sure everything's good. And Hamza's like, hey, sir, it's really not. I have to look at my family.
Yeah.
Having been away from like a full year and go, Hamza needs me. And you think the partner, like the husband, the wife, the kids are going to be like, Daddy, I understand.
Yeah.
Like, no, they're going to be like, what the No, Hamza's fine. Hamza's fine. Hang out with me.
Right.
Right. And that's kind of what happens, right?
Okay, but because that's kind of putting the onus on the people who are in the need of the support. Like, yeah, you have your own tribal support system, who can relate to you more than the guys who are with you there. But like, I guess what I'm asking is, they spend all this money training you for war, but where is is there any resources being developed towards getting you back home and keeping you here?
Oh, man. Yeah, to be perfectly honest with you, I haven't been active since 2015. I was in the reserves, and honestly, one of the best gigs ever was like the ROTC professor gig. At that time, it was more important that people were just home.
Okay.
I don't actually know what the resource situation looks like now. I can't imagine they have solved that problem yet. But from what I remember, the Army's constantly changing. Like when I was in like ROTC, they had just transitioned from like the BDUs, like the grassland wooden pattern camo, to that incredibly well thought out ACU pattern, which looks like the digital camo.
Yeah.
And then even while I was in from that pattern, they bought another pattern, which is like what like the multicam pattern looks like now.
Okay.
It's blends in like the sand. There's something around that looks like that.
So
and if there was, I couldn't
no
see
sand.
it.
Yeah.
I couldn't see it. It's so good. And then right as I was getting out, they actually approved. So there was originally the Army greens, like the garrison uniform that you see in like Band of Brothers, like that kind of uniform. And then there was like the dress blues, which is like an all black top and then blue pants. And then they went just recently back to the garrison greens. I mean, when I was in, they actually repealed Don't Ask, Don't Tell, which is like a really big deal because honestly, that, real talk, that rule was kind of dumb. Either way, the whole point I'm making is that like the Army's changing constantly, and I don't know where they stand on that right now.
Okay, but it wasn't something that when you were in or getting out that you saw much of.
No, it was very much like, hey, check on your battle buddies, and that was sort of like the general guidance. It still is now. But there are things that we can do to make sure that transition home is like way better.
Yeah. Is that kind of what the thing that you're doing now is, the program with the coding?
A lot of it. So I think the topic was, what is it like to reintegrate and those immediate resources?
Yeah.
What I'm doing now, which I've taken a massive step back from because I got family. With Operation Code, there's another organization called like We Lift and Shift with like Tom Smoot, who's an amazing guy. He just went down with Wounded Warrior Project down to DC, talked to the folks on the Hill about like veteran problems. And so a lot of that stuff is post transition, like coming back from war and then getting out of the Army active duty are completely different major life events.
Right.
And so to answer your question, a lot of the focus that I've been doing, like the mentorship calls, like either through like Veterati or something, is typically helping folks figure out, what am I going to do after I leave the Army? Because in the civilian world, right, in the regular world, the real world, whatever, you're not really supposed to conflate your work and your person as like the same identity. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't want to go around and be like, hey, I'm a grocery store bagger. Hi, my name's Evans Wang. I'm a grocery store bagger. Like, no, like you just do that for a living, right? Like, hey, my name's Evans Wang. I'm a software engineer. I mean, I do that for a living, but there's so much more to me than that. In the Army, you are a soldier.
Right.
Yeah.
And so hard to go out. We're trapped with this analysis paralysis where in the Army, they tell you exactly where to go, exactly what to wear, and exactly when to be there.
Yeah.
It's really hard to get wrong, actually.
Yeah.
Still get it wrong. But when you get out, it's like, hey, you can be anything.
Yeah.
Oh. So,
It's
like for example, and then you just rattle off a million things.
Yeah.
And they're like, all right, cool. Which one should I do? I'm like, I don't know, it's your life, man. Whatever you want.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like, and so there's so much of that confusion.
It's like the paralysis from just the amount of choices you have. The freedom is almost like constricting in a way. It's like you don't know which direction to go in.
Yeah. The best analogy I can give to people as like an understanding is right after you graduate high school, you have a choice of college or work. And then when it comes to college, you have like a sort of like an infinite number of possibilities based on like your grade point average and all that, right?
Yeah,
I didn't.
Yeah. Like if I have like a D average, Harvard was not a choice, you know what I'm saying? Or you could get a job.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, but what do I do? What job do I want?
Yeah.
And it's like there's an infinite number of choices. So it's kind of, people wind up doing whatever's convenient.
Yeah.
And that convenience in life choices for a career post-Army doesn't always set the soldier, airman, seaman, like up for success. So one of the things that I would like to do is help people at least navigate the tech sector, right? Some people are like, oh my God, you're a developer. Like, what's that like? They have no idea the difference between like front end work, back end work, like DevOps, like all these like technical terms, or like, I heard a lot about AI. I want to do AI stuff. It's like, okay, what is AI stuff? And maybe I can like help guide them to see, is this a career for you? And even like, if you don't want to get technical, what are the non-technical roles in tech? How do I even get started? What's a good place? What's a good article to read? What's a good company to work for? And all the other things. It winds up being like a college conversation. Mm-hmm. Like, do you want to go to a big college? Do you want to work for Google? Or do you want to go to a small college? Yeah. And do you want to do a startup? Maybe you can start your own business. And so that's kind of where my head's at in terms of me giving back and trying to help. Yeah. So those resources, a lot of those exist. They are not marketed well at all to people getting out. But I feel like that is half the Army responsibility, half the civilian world. But when it comes to coming back from a deployment, I feel like that's generally like 100% Army. That's like two separate kind of individual life-changing events.
Yeah. Right. And so just as far as like your time at the Army went, you came back and then you were still there for 4 more years. Did you go back? Did you get redeployed?
I did not go back to Iraq, but oh my God. I've seen videos of one of my roles, and it's funny. I've had like 1 million jobs. I've lived like 1,000 lives. It's kind of awesome. One of my roles actually in the Army was you have to count. Somebody has to count everything, right? It's like
that sounds like the worst fucking job on earth.
You think about it, right? It's like, hey, we signed over, 180 Humvees, like 50 LMTVs, and like 1,000 M4s over to the Iraq Army. Like, how did you get those numbers? Like, somebody counted that.
Yeah.
This guy. So one of the coolest things actually was like, I got to fly all around Iraq and just land and be like, all right, I'm the counting guy, right? Put me up somewhere, show me where the stuff is. And I had to go through pages and pages of books and looking at serial numbers. So like, every weapon is serialized. Every Humvee is serialized.
Jesus.
So if you said you had 6 Humvees, I can't go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Hell yeah, looks good to me. I had to go, all right, which Humvee is this? UNLEASH. Okay, yeah, that's the one. All right.
Yeah.
Then to the next one. That takes a long time.
Yeah, of course.
But when your boy was done, General Austin came by, right? They signed over the paperwork, and then, Obama came on and was like, ladies and gentlemen, the war in Iraq is over. Hell yeah, because we did it, right? Like we signed over everything. It's theirs now. Yeah. And I was a very small piece of that cog where I counted most of the stuff for our unit in the entire area of operations for Iraq so that we can then sign everything over to them.
Okay.
And that's when the war in Iraq was over. And then they just renamed it. They were like, okay, the OIF 3 or whatever the mission was, is now Operation New Dawn. And now it's more collaborative.
Yeah.
And they're supposed to take over. So we take a back seat. Like instead of the missions being led by U.S. Army, the missions are led by the Iraqi Army, 1st Federal Police, and we were there advising and assisting, and that was the mission.
Yeah. Are we still have people over there doing in an advisory role?
We still have people over there in an advisory role, yes.
Yeah, and then in other roles, I'm assuming that we're not supposed to know about.
Yeah. I mean, I don't even know about them, but I would assume that for the good of mankind, there are things that are happening that people get their hands dirty so we can keep ours clean.
Yeah.
That being said, though, man, sorry, we jumped into a different topic.
Yeah, sorry.
An
interesting topic, though.
Yeah. So much juice in there. But basically, when we left Iraq and the war was over, we came back. We were doing that R&R thing, hung out for like a year. And then in 2013, our unit got reorganized. And there is a joint partnership with South Africa. It's called Shared Accord, which is really cool. I was there. So Shared Accord 13 was the mission. Mm-hmm. And it's for AFRICOM, so Africa Command. So my unit was sent down to South Africa to help train the South African Army. Man, what an absolute delight of a mission that was. Just completely different. Yeah, because you're not getting like blown up or shot at, over there.
Yeah.
And
Just a bunch of guys with cool accents in your.
Yes, yeah, Laka, which is kind of like they're like Shaka.
Oh, okay.
So when someone's like, "Oh, Laka, bro," they call traffic lights robots. So if you're getting directions, it's like, "Oh, it's 3 robots," and then you make a left.
Whoa.
Yeah, and the craziest thing is, so we had to bring over U.S. vehicles, and as you know, South Africa, with the colonization and like the English, I was gonna say Queen's English, but it's the King's English now. They drive on the wrong side of the road.
Yeah,
right.
left.
And
Stupid.
Yeah, 1 star. And so basically, you have left-hand steering wheels like we have here, all the Humvees that like I had shipped over, and then you had left side driving. So I've actually made a left on red.
Oh, nice.
With the left-hand steering wheel.
Yeah.
Which is like crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was like the next mission that we went to. We were there for like 3-ish months. And that time was really tense because we're training the South African army.
Yeah.
And it's 2013.
Yeah.
And Mandela's like on his deathbed. Like he's about to go. It's touch and go.
Right.
So we have no idea how that country is going to react to.
Was he their like prime minister at the time or anything? Or he was just still just a cultural figurehead?
I think he was a cultural figurehead. I don't think he was actually in a specific seat of power from my very bad memory. But it was very touch and go.
Yeah.
Some of the funnest parts of that mission was there'd be parts where you would be in plain clothes at night and you just, because you have to integrate, right? It's kind of I don't know if you've heard like.
Oh, yeah.
Joburg
Johannesburg is fucked up.
Is not exactly what I would describe as safe.
Yeah.
You know, here in the
Everybody
States,
carries guns there.
Yeah.
I'll see a lot of footage of like gun stuff on, and they'll be like, "Oh, where in America is this?" It's always Jaybird.
Yo, listen. The funny thing about the AK-47 is that it does not have a safety.
Yeah.
There's no way to be like, oh, if I accidentally pull the trigger, it's not going to drop the hammer and fire around. The safety is this. This is the safety.
Yeah, your finger.
Right?
Yeah.
So you get trained in the Army that no matter what you do, unless you are immediately about to pull the trigger and kill something, you never put your finger in the trigger well.
Yeah.
It's always out. 100%. Always out.
Right.
Sometimes when I see it in movies, I'm like, oh my God, what are you doing? But anyways,
Yeah.
yo, they hang out finger in the trigger well, just chilling, having a conversation.
Yeah.
You know? And you know, sometimes when you get to a conversation, it gets intense.
Yeah.
It's like, damn, Grant, I can't believe you would say that.
Fuck
You'd be
that.
like, don't, I didn't mean to say that at all. I'm so sorry. I don't think I've ever said anything in my entire life.
Yeah.
And you just kind of lock up, right?
Okay, so not good trigger control in Johannesburg.
No. Anyway, so you'd be in plain clothes at night, right? Just to blend in and, you know, not stick out like a sore thumb,
Yeah.
except like I look
Yeah, I was gonna
very much like someone who would blend in South Africa.
Uh,
But yo, they allowed us, and this is wild. So we weren't really like allowed to drink, right? But they let us go to the casino. And that South African rand was like 1 to 10. So I was like balling out. I was Monopoly money out there.
Yeah.
And you know
you're
how
a billionaire.
yeah, you have like penny slots.
Yeah.
Dude, they had like 1 rand like
Oh,
blackjack hands.
Yeah.
So if you went in there with like $50,
Yeah.
it was like oh yeah.
A mountain of
Yeah.
chips in front of you.
They'd be like 17. I'm like, I'll hit like, sir, you have 17. I'm like, I have rand, baby. Just hit me, you know, whatever. I'll
Yeah.
live.
You're playing it like an online poker free tutorial game.
Yeah, it was quite a wild trip out there.
So what was your free time like out there? Are you working 9 to 5 and then you just get to go?
I would say probably like 5 to 8.
Gotcha.
Yeah, you wake up and you still have to do PT, and yeah, there's so many things that you need to keep 24-hour operations going.
Yeah.
Oh my, do you guys know what gasoline tastes like?
Not
Can't
on
say I
purpose, but
It
I
tastes
definitely
just like how it smells.
oh, spicy.
Delicious.
Yeah.
No, that was like the Dave Chappelle like dog food joke, but
yeah.
yo, that thing tastes disgusting.
Yeah.
So JP8, like the jet fuel,
Yeah.
is what we power like the generators with.
Uh-huh.
And man, bless up to physics. Do you know what a siphon is?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you can't just pour gasoline from a 50-gallon drum into a generator. You have to
Yeah.
like hose it in.
Yeah.
But how do you how do you start the hose?
Yeah, you have to suck on
you
it.
siphoned jet fuel.
Yeah, and then you just throw it in.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was fun. Probably
I'm sure that will have
mouth
no
cancer.
long-term effects at all.
Yeah, I'll just go to the VA and then wait 8 years to get an appointment.
You'll be in one of those commercials that was like, did you serve at Fort Bragg between 2004 and 2015?
Are you missing all your teeth?
Yeah.
You know?
What culturally were the craziest things you did or saw or enjoyed while you were deployed?
Well, you mean in South Africa?
South Africa or in Iraq?
Ooh, wow. When I was in Iraq, okay, you know how every time you go somewhere, you're like, man, I'm going to go to Italy. I'm going to get that authentic pizza, that real pizza, right?
Right.
Not like this Brooklyn nonsense, you know?
Yeah.
Yo, hot take, Brooklyn pizza is better than
Italian pizza.
Napoleon
yeah,
pizza.
absolutely.
Okay, yeah.
We
I was going to say
do
fight
most
me.
things better.
Okay. Anyway, we'll keep going.
Anyways, yo, so I was there in the Middle East. I'm like, man, I'm gonna have some chai tea. You know, that real chai tea.
Yeah.
Yo, the chai tea comes in a cup like this, right?
Not very
And
big.
this is how much sugar is in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
After you're done stirring it, there's still like half of it is still sugar.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it's wild.
Yeah, you're drinking liquid, like syrup,
Yeah.
essentially.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Delicious.
Yeah.
Yeah, sugar. I don't know if you know,
sugar is
sugar's
delicious.
very
It's
tasty.
Yeah.
Yeah. I lived in Indonesia for a little bit, and they do the exact same thing with coffee.
Oh,
Yeah.
It's just like you're not even getting a caffeine buzz. You're just getting a sugar buzz.
100%. Yeah. Do you want some coffee with your sugar?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's something about hot environments. Like
Oh.
I don't know what the sugar does, but like everybody loves it.
It's
Yeah.
very cooling.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah. Super calming too. So there was that was interesting. Yo, naan bread though, crazy. And one thing that opened my eyes was bless up to like the USDA and the FDA for a lot of reasons.
Really?
Seriously.
Okay.
I mean, they don't get 100% of things right, but let me tell you, you could just walk into a pharmacy in Iraq and just be like, hey, what do you want, man?
Yeah.
And just
Okay.
You'd be like,
Yeah.
hydrocodone. They're like, sure.
yeah, they'd be like, "Oh, hey, you want that Dynaball? You're training. You want that Tren? Just over the counter. Everything is over the counter."
Yeah.
Were you getting Tren in Iraq?
I was not. I mean, look at me. I would be like 3 times as big.
Right, of course.
But that and also all the war injuries. But the idea is that, yeah, like there was no regulation of stuff.
Yeah.
Right. Like I have seen. I mean, you've had like chicken skewers like on the street or something,
Yeah.
or like
Yeah.
a pretzel or whatever. Yeah, they're just like, oh man, let's just make this halal goat for you.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, where? Like, what do you mean?
here.
Like
They're
that,
like the
that
goats.
one,
That goat.
that one
Yeah.
right there.
That's
Like,
currently alive will be dead
Yeah.
in 2 minutes.
how hungry are you?
Yeah.
Come here, Billy.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah, that happened right
Yeah.
in front of me, and then
Is that where
I
you
was
ate?
like, wow.
Is that where you ate monkey brains?
Okay, so I sent that note because when I was in South Africa,
Okay.
they were like, all right, yo, you got to try monkey brains. I was like, no, I don't.
Yeah.
I don't. And then someone ate it in front of me and was like, I guess when in Rome, right?
Yeah.
And then right after I ate, I was like, this is sweet,
Really?
delicious. Yeah. And it was like apricots.
Really?
So that's just what they nicknamed monkey brains there. I didn't actually eat monkey brains. I would have
Okay,
a lot
come
of
on.
diseases. Yeah. I sent that as like a little
Well,
teaser.
I've
What a
had. Have you ever
tease.
eaten brain?
I've been
What?
around it.
I've
but
eaten cow brain.
You've eaten brain?
I haven't eaten brain. I've eaten dog, but I haven't eaten brain.
I've
Brain?
eaten brain. Yeah. Cow brain. It's like pretty common.
Oh.
Brain masala.
And was it sweet like apricots?
No, it's kind of chewy.
So actual brain,
But
not like, haha,
Actual,
got you.
actual
I
cow
ate.
brain. Yeah.
Yeah. No.
we
desire.
do every piece. Every
Yeah. Tongue.
tongue. I've never done tongue.
I've eaten tongue.
No, I've never done
No?
tongue.
Huh.
But brain's not bad, dude. And my dad always says it makes you smarter, but that's just something he says.
The logic follows, right?
Yeah. No. That makes sense.
Yeah.
In like third grade logic. Yeah.
Which is my dad's
Yeah.
logic. Yeah.
I've also never graduated from there.
yeah.
So that tracks for me.
Yeah.
There you go. But yeah, that's how you got in the army, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Wait, so the other thing you told us you did is you went to you took a picture with Atomic Annie.
Oh, yeah. Let me tell you. So if you wanted to Google it, I mean, crazy appropriate because I just saw Oppenheimer,
Uh-huh.
and yo, there is a cannon that has shot a nuclear warhead. You can see footage of it. It
Great.
basically Yeah, like
good.
Where did it shoot it? Like this is a test site, I'm assuming?
some test site.
Just
yeah.
in the ocean.
No big deal. But yeah, like think about the ability to like launch a nuke, and then think about the ability to drop a cannon. You can airdrop this thing. You can hook it up sling load to a helicopter, right? And just fly it over, cut sling load, drop it. You can lay the gun, point it, and you can shoot a nuke.
That's,
Like,
terrifying, yeah.
Anywhere you want. It's scary. Force on force, conventional warfare is something the world should never see ever again. Like, no one prays for peace more than the soldier. And so the idea is that they actually made two of them. There's like a twin. I forget its name, but like Atomic Annie, and then it was like Bouncing Betty or something like that.
I hate that they give these world-ending machines cute names.
Yeah. Just like, oh, so quiet.
Diabolical Debbie. Yeah. What does it do? Oh, it shoots mustard gas in your ass. Oh, fantastic.
Oh, like adorable.
That's so fun.
Yeah. 5 stars, 20%.
Yeah.
Yeah, basically, they have this thing. It's a relic now because it's not in actual, like, used in, like, warfare.
Good.
And, yeah, it's sitting at Fort Sill, Oklahoma.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
That's
Shout out
right.
Oklahoma.
Yeah, shout out
For
Oklahoma.
when Texas secedes from the Union.
Yeah. They just
Shoot a big artillery
pop
nuke
one
at
over to Dallas.
Yeah, just clean it out and be like, hey, what's the NVV on this gun? So we can correct it, shoot it high angle.
Right.
That danger close is probably like 10 miles,
Yeah.
But basically, it just sits on this hill as like this intimidation factor. It just exists there in like a museum. And if it's one thing that the Army loves, it's running. I love it. And so one day the colonel was like, it'd be really fun if I just showed all the officers how much of a stud I am. I'm going to run all the way to Atomic Annie, and I bet you can't keep up. And we were like, I can't say no.
Yeah.
Right? It's the colonel. So he just ran all the way over there. And then we have like a unit photo of like all the officers and like the colonel just like on top of that thing.
Wow.
A thing that just rains destruction, and it has a cute name.
How big is it?
Like,
what would it compare to? Like a tank?
Much bigger. Much bigger. The tube on that thing is probably at least the length of those like Connex trucks like that bring the shipping containers?
Yeah.
It's like 2 of those.
Whoa.
2 of the shipping containers?
Yeah, like
Holy
just
shit.
the tube.
That's insane.
Dude, that thing's got to shoot far because you don't want to be danger close on your own.
Yeah, that's true.
Your own nuke,
And like, how wide is the diameter of the cannon?
Man,
It's got to be
yeah.
like Johnny Knoxville getting shot that wide.
Yeah, I was gonna say I do this motion all the time, like
I bet you do.
all the time, for obvious reasons.
Uh-huh.
No, I don't actually remember the borehole on that.
Yeah.
thing, but it is.
Yeah, it's Johnny Knoxville like on the cover of Rolling Stones being shot out.
Yeah,
Full spread.
oh my god, it's intense, man. I can't imagine putting explosives next to that because that's what has to happen, right? Like you load the round and explosives sit right under it, and that charge has got to basically light fire, keep the nuke intact until it makes impact.
Yeah.
Imagine that like wasn't strong enough to withstand the heat and just like
Yeah, so just to clearly so I can understand, when you were doing artillery, you are putting together charges that send this thing X distance?
Yes, and by thing you mean like not a nuclear warhead, just like regular.
just regular mortar shells or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
And so like the amount of charges you do decide the distance.
That's exactly correct. Yeah.
And
Really?
Yeah. So instead of golf, you're like 4, right? On the firing line, based on how far you want to shoot. So you have distance and you have deflection, and that's like your left, right.
Yeah.
In order to determine how far you want to shoot, there are packets of charges, and each one are standard. What
is it called? Cheese?
No.
Oh, I watched a YouTube video.
They call them cheese?
For mortars.
Oh. Huh. I mean, that's like an infantry thing.
This is an influencer thing.
Yeah.
It's the military influencers out there.
Yeah, they're called charges, and basically they're standardized in terms of how much they weigh, how much like what their temperature is, and how far they're going to shoot it. So if you want to shoot at a certain distance, you put 1, 2, 3, 4. You can go all the way up to charge 8.
Okay.
Charge 8 rocks your body and like will affect your heartbeat.
Whoa.
It's like, yeah, you don't want to shoot charge 8. In the field manual, Charge 8 is like dangerous to the human body.
Yeah.
Like you don't want to shoot Charge 8 a lot.
Yeah. Well,
and how far are you
pretty much
standing
every
from
part
these
of
charges?
this process is dangerous to the human body, no matter what side of it you're on.
How far are you standing from the charges when you're setting them off?
Oh man, you are right there. So there is light and then there's mechanized. So the light is literally like just the gun is there. You're in the open air.
Yeah.
Right. And the mechanized is, think of like a tank, like what like the tankers, like the armor guys use, except you switch out their little like pea shooter of a tank cannon.
Yeah.
And then you drop in a howitzer.
Okay.
So you get to shoot artillery right off that Bradley chassis, like the same tank chassis that drives the tracks.
Right.
Yeah.
And if you're shooting the mechanized, you're in the actual tank.
That has to fuck
and you
your brain
load
up
the charge.
so
Yeah.
Sorry, you actually punch in the round.
much.
And then you take however much you want to go. Like if you want to go like much farther, you put more charges in. And you always have to be explicit, kind of like when they say like you have to say 4 in golf or something.
Yeah.
I've never done it,
Yeah.
but you have to announce how many charges you have,
Yeah.
because everyone in the gun needs to know exactly what you're loading.
So
And-
instead of 4, you're like 8.
yeah, except you say it right. You get real ridiculous. You feel like that guy who's like, "Let's get ready to rumble."
Yeah.
So right before you load it, you put in the round, and everyone announces everything, right? You're like fuse, right? Like HE or like Willie P, like WP is like white phosphorus. You could shoot a loom round, so like lighting. You say exactly what it is, and then you're like, charge 4! And then you put in like 4 charges, and you close the thing, and then you hook up the lantern. You're like, hook up, stand by, fire, and you pull it, and that thing literally is like, if I'm here on the gun line, and I hook up the lanyard, and I pull it, that thing comes right here, like inches from you.
Yeah.
You're inches from it.
So you like, it's like a recoil rod or something?
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah, the
Wow.
thing. Yeah, if you're standing there,
You're fucked.
oh yeah,
So this is how
worse than a horse kick.
Yeah, I can't.
how
imagine.
dumb my brain is I still am like the charges explode and send this thing out, but how does it not explode the mortar shell?
Yeah, so the HE is actually encapsulated inside of a round. That round itself is designed to withstand the heat of the charge.
Okay.
And then what happens is the fuse is actually on the tip. Dude, the mechanism in which we can kill people is insane. So like the fuse is, you set the fuse with this tool, and there's something called PD, which is like point detonation, meaning like if that touches something, kaboom.
Yeah, like the front of it touches
Yeah.
something, it's going to explode in the fucking tank.
Yeah.
So what is loading that like? What if you're like, ah, fuck, I hit the rim? Like,
Insanely sensitive. So the fuse is actually probably the size of a rippet, so like half of this monster.
Okay.
And actually, it's about the size of this monster. But basically, you have your whole shell, right? And then right at the top, right before you get ready to fire, you twist the fuse on and you set it. So you do that like at the last possible minute. If you know you're about to be firing, you do what is known as the ready rack. So you ready 6 of these.
Uh-huh.
And then you put them like ready to go loaded. That's the scariest thing, because those things, like if you are holding it and someone's like, hey, watch out behind you, you're like, what? And you drop it, game over. Game
Yeah.
over on the whole gun.
Really?
Yeah. So you set the fuse, so you have PD, point detonation. You have,
not game over on the whole gun, game over in your life.
I mean
right.
the whole gun line.
Okay.
Because there's like
Yeah.
4 people.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And basically, there's PD, right? Point detonation. You have delay fuse, which is really interesting, meaning you can actually force it to explode at an exact time. And then you have, oh my God, VT, the variable timing fuse. I think is freaking nuts. So I'll start with the because you know about the PD, but the delay. So the delay is you set it to the exact second that you want. And what that's supposed to do is if I wanted to shoot it into a building and I wanted to basically crash the building, land, and then explode, I set it to an exact time. And thanks to the 6 months of artillery training, you can calculate exactly how long the round is in the air to the second.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so if I know that round is going to take 18 seconds to fly, I set that thing to 19.
If
Is it
2
like
military
a cartoonish
shells.
timer where with like a clock that goes ding 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 ding?
Like like you're baking.
Yeah,
Basically.
wow.
Yeah, you're doing those math problems where it's like if 2 artillery shells leave my tank at the same time, and one's
Right.
from like,
Yeah. Who explodes first?
Yeah.
Like, and then you do like that math. You're like,
Yeah.
A. But the variable timing fuse, that one is scary because that one is, get this, the variable time is just like the PD, except you want to blow it right before it lands. So if I have 18.4 seconds in the air, I will blow it at like 18.2. Because think about this. You have like a group of soldiers here, right? Or, like some sort of enemy force. If I shoot the round and it blows up 10, 15 feet in the air, the shrapnel just shoots down at them.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Force, never go force on force. This whole we never want to go to
When you say
convention.
force on force, you mean like old, like what trench warfare was, where you have like an area where it's two of like similar equipped companies or whatever going at each other.
Well, this is America. Will never be similarly equipped.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
But force on force, as in conventional warfare, meaning Russia basically says, hey, we're going to war with the U.S. U.S. and Congress is like, all right, F around, find out.
Yeah.
You're about to find out.
Yeah.
And like we never want to do that ever again. Like right now, a lot of it is like guerrilla stuff. A lot of it is kind of.
What's guerrilla stuff?
Like people like not in uniform. They're not necessarily identified.
Yeah.
And it's not the country. It's certain individual groups that live in that country.
Yeah.
And it's not like we're not at a war with Iraq.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We were in Iraq at war with like the Taliban and ISIS and like some of those forces there. But yeah, like if a country declared war with the U.S., if I was a civilian there, I'd be like, I need to get out of this country, like time now.
Yeah.
And the reason I would do that, not because I would abandon my country, it would be because if there are no civilians around, that war would end in like, I would say no more than a month. The only reason is because you have to think of collateral damage and you have to think of the impact that it has, the socioeconomic factors of what it means.
Yeah.
But if you're not around and like the enemy, the bad regime is gone, you can come back. And if we did that, like just the fighting force.
Yeah.
It's insane.
When was the last time, was there any point during the war that it was like force on force?
No, not that I have fought.
Okay.
And the crazy part is when I was teaching ROTC, an old friend of mine who was actually a sergeant major in the Army gave me some crazy advice because he was also a ROTC instructor. And he was like, the war that you are going to prepare these young cadets for is a war that you will not have seen.
Mm.
And you will have absolutely no idea what it's going to be like. So prepare them to the best that they can to think.
Yeah.
Because they will be fighting a different kind of war. And I was like, holy crap, that's very insightful.
Because of how much it will have evolved from the time that they are getting their training to when they're actually applying that training.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's always the case, though.
Yeah, absolutely. It would be like cybersecurity 20 years ago.
Like even like drone warfare is probably so different from what the people that train those people did.
Oh, yeah, big time.
Can I ask, so if you're on the gun line, right?
Yes.
Well, how's that chair treating you?
My back is feeling great.
Yeah, it's good for you. When you're on the gun line, are you a part of that process, which is considering collateral damage?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah.
What does that look like?
Oh, man. Yeah. Well, a lot of it is on the actual gun line. It's just firing, right? So if you were to think of artillery, there's 3 separate sections, right? Earlier I had mentioned like the forward observer, and that's the actual person that spots the rounds and then basically spots them and says like, hey, like farther or closer. There's the gun line that loads the gun, charge 4, and sends the round out, right? Like distance, deflection, elevation.
Okay.
Then there's something called the FDC, like the Fire Direction Center. And they do all the actual calculations. That's when you want to get all like the Chinese people in a room and be like, all right, I want to make sure that I'm putting steel on Ant's ass, right? They don't have to be Chinese, right?
But it helps sometimes.
The idea is that there is the eyes, the observer, right? Then there's the muscle, the actual gun that shoots. And then there's the brain that does the calculation. The people that consider the most about the collateral damage outside of like higher headquarters and command are going to be the observers because they're the only ones that can actually see what's going on.
Okay.
In terms of like, hey, if you shoot this, are there important buildings around? Are there mosques, churches, places of worship? is that where the generator is that powers the town? Because we kind of don't really want to take the whole town out.
Right.
Yeah.
And we don't want like the quality of a life, even though we're like bombing them, to go down. And so all of those things are taken into a lot of consideration to the point where, you know, the bad folks will take advantage of that, and they'll just be like, oh, I'll just set up here because I know, you know, rules of engagement. The army just can't shoot me because what I'll do is I'll record it and be like, oh my God, they're bombing churches and mosques. Yeah. And it's like, well, that's not really what happened, but.
Well, that's what they were saying with like some of the stuff that's going on now is like they were like hiding in hospitals.
Yeah.
So it's like, is there an answer of like going in there manually, or is that so out of the question?
I think everything's a trade-off. It depends on, and this is the hard part about war. And really, Thanos didn't get a lot of things right. But one thing he did say was like the hardest decisions require the strongest wills. And if they're hurting people, you have to weigh, okay, if I go in there and I send in folks, those folks might die, right?
Yeah.
The people I send in. And then you're basically going to a small arms battle. All the civilians that are going to die. You have to ask yourself, like, how much damage can they do versus how much damage is it going to cause if I go in there? And sometimes you got to be like, well, they're only going to hurt like 30 people, maybe. If I go in there, I'm probably going to like F it up and like that whole town, the 100 people, 150 people, they're going to die. Yeah. And someone has to make the call like, guess you got to let them operate. Yeah. And it's a horrible decision, but I mean, no one wants to be in Sophie's choice. But those are a lot of considerations. Yeah. It's kind of awful.
You have a lot of Thanos references, I've noticed.
Oh, with my kids?
Was Thanos like is he a military figurehead in your head? Is he a representative of?
No, I would say the only real thing about him he's a misunderstood villain, right?
Well, that's the best villains, right? Is the ones that they're like, oh, they might have like a
point.
Something. Yeah.
He definitely has a point. I think that wiping 50% of the population was not the answer, but there is a lot to the cold, logical decision making that people are, and I'm gonna be frank, like too soft to make. That it's very easy to hate him for. Yeah. Right? Because imagine I said, hey, we're not gonna go in there and stop these bad guys. Everyone's going to be like, oh, you're not going to go in there and stop the bad guys? You're the worst. Or if I go in there and stop the bad guys, they're like, you should consider the damage that you were going to do to other people. And you're kind of like, yep, I have to get my hands dirty. Yeah. But that's because it's easy for someone else that doesn't have to make that decision to basically be on the sidelines and be like, I would have done this. Yeah. I'm like, all right. Like,
is that something
couch quarterbacking is tough.
You got during your training? Or was that something where that's like on the job training?
It's on job training. There's no like slide deck that's all like, here's how to deal with people hating you.
Yeah, here's the metric for.
Yeah, that's a big thing, is just not being liked. Yeah. For almost every decision.
Yeah. And the Army's really good at that. All right. There's no PowerPoint, but apparently
not being liked.
No, yeah. The OJT is real because the perception that you get from a lot of like war veterans is that they're crusty. And because that's what allowed them to make the hard decision. That's what allowed them to survive. And that's what allowed them to honestly make the better decision.
Right. Yeah.
For humanity, like the GG, the greater good, whatever that means. And then you come back and then you're hated for it because now you're kind of like, you're crusty and you make all the hard calls. And it's very unlikable from a society perspective. But a lot of times you have to understand and be grateful. Like there's a reason why you became this way.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a learned behavior.
Yeah.
What is your favorite memory of being in the Army?
Oh man, there's so much to choose from. Oh my God. The people, man, the people are great. People are oh my God. I love New York City. It's the best.
Yeah.
The people make it. For sure. And there's just a lot of people here, right? That's kind of like, statistically, it would be the greatest city in the world. Yeah. But man, I'm not going to pick a favorite because that would mean that it soars above the rest. But the one that immediately comes to my mind is, you ever go mudding
Yeah, like in a four-wheeler.
Yeah. So I was pitched this. Mind you, I grew up in the city, so I didn't, like really have a car or anything.
Right.
And someone's like, "Hey, you want to get in my truck and go mudding?" I was like, "I don't know what that is." Like, "Oh, we're just gonna drive around the mud." I was like,
yeah, that sounds so
kind of hard
stupid,
pass.
Yeah.
Then I did it and was like, "We should be doing this every weekend."
Yeah.
But I just remember sitting in that truck, spinning out of control in the mud, being like, "These are the good times." There's very rare moments in your life where you can actually appreciate. There was like a quote from The Office. I can't remember who said it. It might have been like Andy Bernard or something. But he was like, "I wish I knew the good times while you were in the good times." Do you know what I mean? And I remember that moment happening. I'm all like, I'm going to remember this forever. And I just sat back and like I basked in the ambience and the glow that is mudding.
Yeah. So this was with one of your military buddies in Kansas?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh man. Yeah.
Just like dude, that was one thing is one of my friends went to the military straight out of high school. And I remember I was in college and we were like partying and getting drunk and getting in trouble. And then I was talking to him like a year later and he was like, yeah, we were like partying and getting drunk and getting in trouble. Like, I was like, oh, you're having like a similar experience. Like, I guess they would get thrown in like military jail a lot.
Oh man. Yo, that's a whole can of worms there. So it's so funny because in the military, it sort of falls outside the jurisdiction of like civilian legal reach. When you are in the military, you abide by what is known as the UCMJ, the Uniform Code of Military Justice. That is like the law book. So if you were to commit a horrible crime and atrocity, you don't get like arraigned in like civilian court. You're not going to go to like Manhattan, Kansas, like Superior Court. You sit before a commander based on like the level of infraction. And that person is the judge and jury.
Yeah.
It's scary.
Oh, so there's
one guy.
There's no formal trial a lot of the time?
No, there's no formal trial. It's like, did you do it? Uh-huh. And what does the evidence say? All right, well, sorry, bud.
Yeah.
To the brig.
But is there situations where it's like, oh man, the whole team went out last night and got drunk and got into a fight, or they like did something stupid, or it's like, what are we going to punish 50 guys?
Is there ever a situation? Oh man, how many do you want? So as we know, mass punishment is illegal in the Geneva Convention.
Okay.
That being said, it's not mass punishment if it's team building. Do you know what I'm saying?
I see what you're saying.
Yeah, there are certain times when the whole team will stand up for each other and be like, we were all there, and you can't throw everyone in jail.
Yeah.
So, you use your best judgment, but the idea is you weigh the damages versus kind of what would make sense in like the news, right? Like if they went and like torched the whole town, that platoon is they're in jail forever.
Bad.
Yeah. But
Bad.
if they got drunk and like, I don't know, they like got drunk and they like stabbed a tire.
Yeah.
That sucks. But I'm not going to throw the whole platoon in jail because they got rowdy at a bar and they like stabbed a tire, right?
Yeah.
Like, okay, what we should do is make that person whole, right? We should pay for the tire repair.
Yeah.
And then we have to make sure that the platoon never does that again. And so how can we do that? And you want to talk about a favorite memory? Dude, the Army has what I would consider, you would imagine that the Army doesn't have like imagination, right? It's like, do it exactly this way. You fold your hospital corners exactly this. You wear your pin exactly 1/8 of an inch above the button center line. Exactly. And you're like, oh man, there's no room for creativity here. But when it comes to the punishments, ooh man. You ever go mop like outside because the floor is dirty in the rain? Oh yeah. You get creative. It's like, oh hey, we need to beautify this area, right? Like the higher headquarters. Oh man, we got to cut the grass. Well, here are some scissors.
Yeah.
You have 3 hours. Good luck. You're like, wait, can we get the lawnmower? Yeah, you could get the lawnmower, but you could have also not stabbed that tire.
Right.
Yeah.
So enjoy, dude. You ever seen like a private on the floor cutting grass? He's just with a scissor.
Yeah.
And you already know, like I've walked into another unit because like we had to ask them for something, and you just see somebody in full gear, like full body armor, mask on, like gas mask on, and just mowing the lawn. You're like, oh, this guy did something. He did something. Yeah. And so, there's a lot of creativity that way.
Yeah. Does that happen while you're deployed as well? Or is that mostly when
that's everywhere. Like, so remember how I said, like, you cannot forget your weapon. Yeah. No matter what. Can't forget it. There's another thing you can't forget, and that is your ID card.
Yeah.
And so imagine misplacing your ID card. How do you punish somebody like that? Just like, hey, never forget it again. Well, that doesn't really teach the lesson, right? What we do have is a lot of like materials just laying around, right? So
staple it to him.
I would take this table and I would take a projector and I would take a generic ID card, have them stencil it in, spray paint it, stencil it, look exactly like a government ID card, and have them carry that table around that looks like an ID card for 2 days.
Yeah.
And just be like, if I see you without this ID card, it's going to get worse. And so you just see people like, dude, imagine going into the chow hall. Imagine going into like the bodega and you see someone carry that around and it looks exactly like a military ID. And you just go, oh, you forgot your military ID, didn't you?
Yep.
Yeah. That's fun.
Yeah, that's always fun. Just public punishment. It reminds me of the program where the guy fumbled and he has to carry the football around for like, you know what I'm talking about? He like has to carry it to class.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Oh man, we've done a bunch of things where like, so similar to that, like, man, if you just went to the bathroom at like the wrong time, like if someone's like, all right, we SP for this mission in exactly 2 mics, like 2 minutes. You got 2 minutes. Yep. It's like the favorite time in the Army. And someone's like, sir, I gotta take a shit right now. And you're like, we have to leave. We'll be out the door in 2 minutes. He's like, sir, I really gotta take a shit. And you're like, hurry up, you got 2 minutes. And if they don't make it back in 2 minutes, you gotta let them know, like, hey, that was bad timing. So you just take a toilet seat. And they just got to carry around all the time.
You make them carry the shit around the rest of the day.
Just a toilet seat. Like, hey, dude, listen, if you can't hold it,
you make them shit their pants.
You're like, hey, dude,
jogging.
You really need a toilet, huh?
Yeah.
We'll carry it with you.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, maybe it's good I didn't join the Army because I would have been carrying around a lot of shit.
Well, I think we need to wrap up though. Soon.
Snap! What time? We've been talking for 2 hours.
We've been
talking
flies,
for 2 hours. Baby. Time flies.
Golly.
Time flies when you're having fun. Evans Wang, Captain Evans Wang. You can catch him working in New York. You're not really an entertainer. Usually we have some sort of entertainer on, but you're just an interesting person.
But you're very entertaining.
Do you have anything?
Thank you so much.
Do you have anything you want to plug?
I might jump in. I might do it. I might throw my life away and do stand-up comedy.
There we go. He'll be at an open mic.
It'll be so worth it. I promise you.
The life is so glamorous and pays well, I heard.
Yeah. We're millionaires. That's why we can do this for free.
Radio expensive Brooklyn. That's right. Grant?
Follow me on Twitter, Ludwig von Poop. Follow me on Instagram, Pog of War. And I don't really have anything coming up show-wise, but it's fun and I'll post sketches. So thank you.
This is Humza, HUMZ.AH on Instagram and TikTok. You can see me somewhere hopefully soon. Good Idea Comedy coming back to you in April. I'll definitely talk about the dates whenever it's coming up.
It was March. It was March last week.
It was March. I don't know, dude. I've been busy. I got engaged. I don't know if I told you that. I'm a busy guy. I'm a. You know what? We're loving husbands, us guys.
That's right.
Grant he doesn't understand. He
Not
doesn't
yet.
understand
Not yet.
He's a childish person.
You'll be trapped soon.
We'll see you guys next week. Thanks for tuning.
Thank you.
Again.